Hello there, I'm Georgia Tolley and I'm reporting here from Global Food Week in Abu Dhabi, and the big focus here is on high-tech agriculture, and I'm delighted to say I am joined here by Jim Mellon. He's a billionaire, he's an entrepreneur, and his focus is longevity and the medicine that leads to longevity, and I suppose connected to that, high-tech agriculture, because of course the food we put in our bodies is going to have an impact on how long we live. I'm delighted to say he's agreed to sit down with me for a few minutes for an interview. So yes, Jim Mellon, thank you very much indeed for your time.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you for that fulsome and unwarranted introduction.
I've just come off a stage, so I'm in full flow.
Good.
Full flow. Tell me, you're here in Abu Dhabi. You're often here in Abu Dhabi, actually. Tell me what type of food you're looking to develop, because we're here at an alternative protein forum.
Well, we have developed the food. The question is making it in sufficient quantity. And the great thing about Abu Dhabi, as indeed the place where I live, which is the Isle of Man, which has some similar characteristics, is that it's food insecure. In other words, it has to import a very large percentage of its food. You, living here full time, will know that because in the supermarket it's all imported food, basically. So 90% of food plus is imported into Abu Dhabi and the UAE generally. But now with science and technology, there's an opportunity to actually produce food without having to farm it in a conventional way, which is really not suited to Abu Dhabi because of the climate and because of the lack of water. So we can produce, for instance, dairy proteins, egg proteins, some forms of beef, some forms of fish here in labs that are bio-identical to the foods that you buy in the supermarket, in fact better than the foods that you buy in the supermarket possibly, and with a very low environmental impact, and provide food security for this country and for Abu Dhabi in particular at the same price as conventionally farmed foods are made.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Who are your partners here in Abu Dhabi? Are you looking to develop these alternative proteins literally on location in the Emirates?
Yes. So we signed an MOU today with ADIO, and we're going to be working with them to develop, alongside other partners who are here speaking with you and others today, to build a factory here. We're the only people in the world who've got the experience of building these plants. And we want to build a plant alongside partners here in Abu Dhabi, putting our own money in, not just expecting Abu Dhabi to front up all the cash, to produce dairy and egg proteins. And I think that's coming very close to fruition with all the MOUs that were signed today. And I'd love to do a palm oil plant here as well, because the export potential of palm oil is huge.
Why would you choose Abu Dhabi in particular as a place to do business, as a place to build your next factories?
Well, the government is forward-thinking. I think we know that, and we've, for instance, in longevity, we've done a partnership with M42, which is the local healthcare system, as you're aware, and our longevity company is developing drugs with them. So we already have that experience. Secondly, there is capital here, but I equally think there's very good returns here. So foreign investors, such as myself, will be putting money alongside Abu Dhabi in building the relevant plants here, because I want to make returns of my money, and I'm not just looking for a handout from the government. So myself will be investing quite heavily alongside in this new plant here in Abu Dhabi when we get it all sorted and the planning permission. And that gets to the third point, which is, unlike in the UK where it takes 30 years to get something to planning, you can do it much faster here.
Okay, so you mentioned two of the sort of clusters that Abu Dhabi has developed here. There's a health cluster. They then got this agua cluster, which is food and water. They've got a couple of others as well. There's artificial intelligence. There's the Savvy one, which is for autonomous transport. They are all designed to attract investors into the country and also to develop the knowledge economy. Is that a policy or a structure that, from your opinion, is going to work for them? Is it a good idea to work like that?
Yes, and I don't know if all of them will work, because, you know, it's quite ambitious to have, I think it's 11 of them, is that
13 now.
13,
yes.
Okay. So, you know, it's a relatively small population. I think that it's a great idea to experiment and see which ones are going to take off. But let's put it this way. The drivers of, let's say, the UK economy are largely around Oxford and Cambridge and London, particularly in life sciences, where it's a very strong industry. And I think, and in quantum computing as another example, where the UK is a world leader, I think Abu Dhabi, in terms of life sciences, will do very well. And because it has the biobank, it has the genome sequencing, it has the understanding, it has the medical infrastructure, plus a population that's pretty receptive to new stuff based on the aging economy. I think that's going to work. Food is a no-brainer for Abu Dhabi, because if you import a very large percentage of you're food insecure. If there's another war in Ukraine, price volatility, if there's a shortage of supply of food, you want to have some production here to protect your population. In terms of transport, again, the regulatory environment is quite favorable to, for instance, flying taxis.
Yes.
And, Joby, I think, is working here, and there's a couple of others as well. So I would think that that's going to be a success. I don't think in every area it will be a success, but they're probing, they're trying, and that's exactly what I would do if I was in charge.
You mentioned there that it's trickier to get things set up in Britain, for example, to get planning permission for a new fermentation factory, and that in fact it's easier to do that here.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of the reasons why you're choosing to invest more here going forward. We hear a lot of news stories about people leaving Britain for various reasons and coming to the Middle East, coming to Abu Dhabi. Do you think that's true? Do you think and do you have any sort of ideas for why the reasons might be?
Well, I mean, one of the reasons is obviously the current government in the UK has made rich people somewhat unwelcome, and especially with their taxation policies. So I think that's a major factor. The second thing is that the infrastructure here is now so much better than it was 20 or 30 years ago, so that people can adapt to the lifestyle. And then the third is that they're very welcome here. So I think there is an exodus of sorts, but I don't think it's necessarily as big as some people would say. But there's a lot of synergy between Abu Dhabi and the UK. Life sciences investment going both directions, lots of cultural connection. So I think it can only be a good thing that there are more Brits living here, but vice versa, I think there's a lot of activity from here into the UK. So I heard the other day that, for instance, London property prices are flatlined for about 10 years, and the big buyers are from the UAE now. So it works both ways.
It does work both ways.
Yeah.
That's very
And that's
interesting.
good. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
So personally, I've got an apartment here in Abu Dhabi, and I've made some, for me, significant investments in the country. And I got my golden visa, and I'm very happy with everything when I come here. But I try and spend time in both. I'm not living in one at the exclusive expense of the other. And I think that's the way that most of these fleeing millionaires or billionaires will lead their lives, frankly.